Hello space fans, thank you for tuning in once again. We have an especially out-of-this-world video to share with you today. Now, in addition to discussing an absolutely stunning video of the recently launched SpaceX rocket, we will address a few burning questions. Will a rocket be bound for the moon soon? What is going on at the International Space Station? Stay tuned to learn all of this and more. First up, is a rocket going to head for the moon in the foreseeable future? The recent launch of the SpaceX rocket was a sight that we have not seen in quite a while. A video was captured of the rocket hurtling away from the Earth, propelled by an unimaginable amount of energy, heat, and force. Behind the rocket loomed an immense full moon. You could see the heat waves rippling off of the rocket, distorting the view of the moon's surface directly behind it. Such a breathtaking sight definitely made more people than ever before start to think about a space exploration and what other rocket launches the future holds. This is SpaceX and NASA's fifth official crew rotation. 4 astronauts were on board. The final destination, the International Space Station. However, NASA already has its sights beyond the ISS. Artemis 1 is scheduled to launch in November from the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral and travel to the moon's orbit and then beyond. If all goes according to plan, Artemis 1 should launch during the next launch period, which will run from November 12th through November 27th. It will be the first integrated test of NASA's deep space exploration systems, Orion spacecraft, Space Launch System SLS rocket, and the ground systems at the Kennedy Space Center. It has not been specified yet exactly when in the launch cycle they are considering, but the first portion of the launch period only has launch windows that occur at night. Our preference is to launch in the daylight, stated NASA Associate Administrator for Exploration Systems Development, Jim Free. The reason for this is because it's easier to track the rocket during daylight hours. The days with daytime launch windows fall from November 22nd through November 27th. Free also stated they would not rule out a nighttime launch for the first launch mission. Will there be any people aboard Artemis? The $2.9 billion contract that SpaceX signed with NASA states that before any Starship containing passengers lands on the moon, the company first has to approve that it's capable of sending a rocket to the moon and having a successful flight. The purpose of the test flight is to fully check out all the systems necessary for a successful lunar landing. If all goes well, people will then ask the question, when will we see Americans land on the moon again? Astronauts have not been on the moon since the Apollo 17 mission way back in 1972. The original promised deadline of having humans on the moon by 2024 is not too far away. The Space Launch System rocket is the most powerful rocket in the world. It stands at a height of 322 feet and will have 5.75 million pounds of mass at liftoff. Additionally, it will create 8.8 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. Attached to this will be the Orion spacecraft designed for sending humans into deep space. It has a crew and service module height of 26 feet. The mission duration of Artemis 1 is approximately 25.5 days. The total distance it will travel is 1.3 million miles, and it is estimated that it will re-enter Earth's atmosphere at 24,500 miles per hour. This uncrewed flight will provide a wealth of data and knowledge that NASA will use to advance further with deep space exploration. This spacecraft will go further than any other spacecraft built for humans has gone. It is planned to leave the Earth's orbit and head towards the moon. Prior to leaving the Earth's orbit, it will deposit some small satellites called CubeSats. Once it enters the moon's orbit, the rocket will pass within 62 miles of the moon's surface and then use its gravitational pull to propel itself into deep retrograde orbit, about 40,000 miles from the moon. It will do another close pass of the moon on its way back to Earth. The final test of the rocket will be if it is capable of making a safe re-entry into the atmosphere and then making a successful splashdown off the coast of Baja California. This is all laying the foundation for the flight of Artemis 2, which will have a crew on board. Can you even believe how neat science is? Wait until you hear about the International Space Station and the drama behind the most recent rocket launch. What is going on with the International Space Station? Well, it's been announced that the International Space Station's days are numbered. NASA has been trying to decide how to dispose of the ISS once the decades worth of research that has happened there is finally finished. The answer to NASA's dilemma of how to to get rid of that space station has not been answered fully yet, but we do know it will come to a fiery end. In 2019, a NASA safety panel approved a plan to have 2 Russian spacecraft drag the station, which weighs 450 tons, into Earth's atmosphere. This would result in a huge fiery ball of molten metals and other materials. The issue with this is that Russia recently announced their plan to abandon the International Space Station by 2025 without having a specific plan in place for its disposal. Although NASA's safety panel approved their plan, it has not yet been agreed upon by NASA's international partners. NASA is open to negotiation in order to come up with a safe and reasonable deorbit plan for the station. The one thing that is for certain, the International Space Station must die. And no, this is not some weird parody of John Tucker Must Die. The aging station has to be disposed of in an efficient way, but it is currently approved to remain in operation through December 2024 by the international partners' respective governments. From a technical standpoint, NASA stated that it has approval to fly until the end of 2028. What is NASA's SpaceX Crew 5 doing up at the International Space Station? This question might seem extra puzzling if you just now learned for the first time that we are within half a decade of the ISS becoming an obsolete piece of space junk that can only be disposed of by being set on fire and melted down. The crew included Russian cosmonaut Anna Kikina. Despite nuclear threats issued by Russia, political tensions might be high here on Earth, but the Russian and American space programs continue to work together despite the growing unrest between the two countries. Kikina became the first Russian cosmonaut to blast off in an American-made rocket from United States soil in 2 decades and will serve as a mission specialist on the crew. This crew is the 5th crew rotation mission that has been launched since NASA partnered with SpaceX. In addition to Kikina, NASA astronauts Nicole Mann and Josh Cassada were on board, as well as Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Koichi Wakata. During their stay at the ISS, the crew will conduct over 200 science experiments as well as technology demonstrations. These will include printing human organs in space. During the rocket's flight, NASA was also observing several automatic spacecraft maneuvers as well as space station operations. Dragon docked itself autonomously. Crew 5 was greeted by the members of the Expedition 68 crew as well as the Crew 4 members who were about to return back to Earth. But wait, wasn't something wrong with the Falcon rocket that carried Crew 5? Although the launch, flight, and landing went off without a hitch, there was a mistake which still has social media buzzing. And yes, it involves a meatball. In case you didn't know, NASA's iconic logo has also been dubbed the meatball. The blue circle contains the words NASA amid some stars and a red V-shaped swoop. Florida Today's space reporter Emery Kelly tweeted, "Wait, what happened to Crew 5's meatball?" Onlookers everywhere were quick to notice that someone had severely botched the infamous logo. The logo that was painted onto the rocket looked like it had been done carelessly and in a hurry. The text was off-center, and the star constellations were also incorrectly placed. A parody account named Worm Evangelist, after NASA's other, recently revised the logo, which was created in 1984, tweeted, "Wake up, honey, new NASA logo discourse just dropped." The worm logo was also spotted on the side of the Falcon rocket, and yes, this one was painted correctly. What makes it extra shocking is that SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, who is known for attention to detail as well as fit and finish, allowed for the botched logo to remain on the rocket. Of course, it was purely a cosmetic defect and had no impact on the safety or the function of the rocket, but still, it definitely took away from the rocket's appearance. Maybe the spoof was intentional and was meant to be a PR stunt in order to get the NASA logo trending, creating more publicity for the upcoming rocket launch to the moon. Well, there you have it, everyone. All of the updates on the recent SpaceX rocket launch, the team on the International Space Station, and the meatball, and what the near future may hold regarding a moon landing. Let us know what your favorite part of the video was in the comments, and we'll see you next time.